الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Today we are going to discuss an amazing story that took place in Islamic history. And that type of stories does not repeat more often. In 51st Hijri, while so many Sahaba radiyallahu anhum was still alive, one of the mission took place, and one of the Sahabi by the name Rabiah ibn Ziyad al-Harfi, he took, army and they went on jihad. So those, years, there was years of futuhat, and the Muslims were busy on different areas. Rabiah ibn Ziyad al-Harfi was on the Mawara al-Nahr, Khurasan area, and he was doing futuhat toward Azerbaijan and those countries, and moving toward, China. And Rabiah ibn Ziyad has a young man, his slave, by the name of Farooq. And that was amazing young man. He was amazing fighter. And Rabiah used to depend on him a lot, because when he is in the battlefield, he's an amazing person. So always Rabiah used to take him in his right hand. So when they entered into Azerbaijan and they took over on the country and the area, the entire army prayed 2 rak'ah as prayer of shukr and thanking Allah. And Rabiah ibn Ziyad, the chief, was so happy at that day when he made official victory over the country. And he led the army and they won the war. And now he's thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After he finished 2 rak'ah, he stood up talking to his soldiers and he said, well, today we got the victory. I am very happy. And we have ghanaim, and we have so much wealth that Allah has granted us. And then he said, one of the great credit goes to, Farooq, very strong fighter. And he said, I'm gonna give him a gift today. So he called upon his slave Farooq and he says, because of the victory today, I have a surprise for you. That go and you are free. So he freed him. And he says, not only that, I'm going to give you 30,000 dinar from Mal al-Ghanima. Imagine a slave got victory, and not only that, 30,000 dinar in his hand. That was a lot of money back then. A person become really rich. So what he did, he was so happy, especially when he received the freedom. He says, you are free. So he got freedom plus the wealth. At one day before, he was a slave and poor. And within 1 day, he's a free man and become rich. قدر الله ما شاء فعل. Allah planned things the way He wished. So Rabiah ibn Ziyad, he passed away within a few days. And now Farooq, the young man, he wanted to go back with his a lot of wealth. He was originally from Iraq. Now he started thinking where to go. He said, I'm free man and I'm rich. If I go back to my own country and my own area, people know me as a slave. They know me as a poor person. So it will not fit. I will not enjoy. So he's thinking, should I go to Basra? Should I go to Kufa, Makkah, Taif? Where to go? And finally, he finalized that he wanted to go and settle in Al-Madinah Tayyibah, the city of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So finally, to make story short, he came to Medina. He was at that time around 27, 28 years old. But keep in mind, since they got the victory and he was a very dependable, fighter, slave of Rabiah ibn Ziyad, so people know him as a good fighter. When he arrived to Medina, he basically mentioned to several people that he is looking to get married. Somebody introduced him about a family and about a very righteous girl, and he got married with her and settled. But sometimes if a person spends all his life, in battlefield, sometimes it's difficult for the person to sit at home, do nothing. And imagine he was stranger in Medina. He's not from Medina, so he do not know a lot of things. And he's still trying to understand the market, understand people, and trying to build the trust. He got tired for being at home, doing nothing. He is a very physical man, a person of a field, living at home with his wife. It is nice to live with your wife and family, but still he's a physical person, has to be doing something. And after 3-4 months, he realized his wife told him that I am pregnant. So he's very happy. And all of a sudden, they both heard the announcement that whoever wants to join the army on the battlefield of such and such, we need support. So he stood up from his seat. He asked his wife, I cannot stay back, I have to go and help Islam and the Muslims. She said, you are very welcome. And she supports him, and she said, go with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imdi ala amrillah. And she says, leave us with the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we will be okay. So he left his home with his sword and with his feet. He looked back to his wife when he was leaving his door. He said, Oh Allah, I am leaving my family in your hand. And then he said, Oh Allah, I am going for your sake to help Islam and Muslim. Please Allah, help me in my family and at my home. And he left the home. He promised his wife that he will be back within 6 months or maybe early. But when physically he entered into the army, they say, let us do this important mission. So they entered into one mission, and then the second mission, and the fourth mission, the fifth mission, and got so busy, could not come back. But before he left Medina, he gave a 30,000 dirham or dinar to his wife, and he said, keep this money with you. When I come back, we're going to invest and we're going to make our living in this money. So she kept the 30,000 dinars. And now he is with physical. He was thinking that my wife have a money, so let me do this mission and that mission, then I'll go back. Believe me or not, 1 year passed. He could not go home. She gave the birth to a beautiful child. Now, since his master used to be a Rabiah ibn Ziyad, and he used to talk a lot about him, especially after he passed away. So his wife learned a lot about Rabiah. So she named the child Rabiah. So that Rabiah basically was a little child. She is waiting for him 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and sometime news comes that he's still alive and he's still thinking about us. He want to come maybe next year, maybe next month. And then she got busy with her child, and she's sending him from this Sahabi to that Sahabi, and he is learning from Sahaba, the little boy Rabiah. And literally within 22, 23 years, he became the most knowledgeable scholar in Medina, period. After 26 years, that Farooq, he remembered his family. He wanted to retire and he wanted to come back to Medina, settle with his wife. 26 years when he arrived to Medina, he said, let me go first to Masjid al-Nabawi and pray there and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then I will figure it out, because 27 years he forgot so many things. He do not know anybody in Medina except his wife's name. So is she moved? Is she in still same house? Who's taking care of her? Where she is? He has to know everything. So he came to Masjid al-Nabawi. He saw a person giving a lecture within very beautiful voice and very beautiful style, a young man, and he attended the halaqah, and he said, I wish I have a son like him. I wish, I have somebody, my relative or somebody like him. Great man, great scholar in a very young age. Then he led the prayer. He enjoyed his recitation and qira'ah. And then right after prayer, he basically talked to somebody. He started talking people. Nobody knows about him and his family. 27 years, long time. So he said, let me check and try. Now is the daytime, so he can check and try. He went his home, he knocked the door. A young man came out. And he said, this is my house, what are you doing here? The young man said, this is my house, what are you talking about? So they both got into fight. First an argument, because the stranger man or Farooq want to enter into the house, and the young man want him to talk to him outside the house. So because in the beginning they got into argument, and the argument, and the Farooq is a little tough man, he's a soldier, so they got into argument. He says, this is my house. So in the beginning, the young man thought maybe somebody's strange and crazy and just want to enter my house with no reason. And then when the young man's young man's mom heard somebody arguing on the door, she came. And he said, she asked his son or her son, she asked her son, who is this guy outside? He said, Mom, a guy wants to enter to the house, and he said, this is my house. And then Mom asked the stranger, what's your name? And when he asked him, what is your name? He says, my name is Farooq. That mom screamed inside the house. She said, Rabiah, this is your father. And then the father entered. Rabiah was the same scholar who was giving a lecture in the Masjid An-Nabawi. Rabi'a radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he learned from many Sahaba radiyallahu anhu, many Imams, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Sa'id ibn Jubayr, so many others. And he has so many great students. But one of his students is Imam Malik ibn Anas. Malik ibn Anas, the Imam of Medina, was a student of Rabiah Al Rai. And Rabi'ah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu become a so great scholar that whenever he gives the opinion, that's the opinion. So people start calling him Rabiah Al Rai because his Ra'i, his opinion is the opinion. And actual name was Rabi'ah ibn Farrukh Abu Sulaiman. Now, connect this story together and see how that great man learned that much knowledge, though his father was not around. When I was reading this story, I realized that the mother, she played a great role to teach her son and to guide him in a way that he becomes a scholar. And when Rabi'ah become a great scholar, his father saw him on a great status, become very happy. And he asked his wife, "Where are my 30,000 dinar which I give it to you?" And she pointed toward Rabi'ah. She said, "This is your 30,000 dinar." And he said, "You have spent that money in the best way you could." What we learn from the story? Number one, we learn from the story that, mother always play great role in upbringing of the child. Two, that subhanallah, if a person spend a lot of time with close to scholars and good people, always influence become positive and the person becomes successful in the life. Three, that Rabi'ah, when Rabi'ah understood that this is my father, he kissed his hand. He loved him, he hugged him, and he apologized. Four, it is not nice for husband to leave the family for a long time and do not look back and see what is going on in my family and my child. Father has to be around as well. Giving some money is not enough. And subhanallah, we learn in this story also that patient, dedication. She did not just remarry somebody, but she felt that my son is my asset. And she has a patience, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward her with that patience, that Rabiah Al Rai, the greatest scholar in his time, used to sit and teach in the Masjid An-Nabawi and used to start his lecture by praising his mom and used to say, "My mom raised me up as a scholar. May Allah be pleased with her." Today, we are talking about the greatness of that great lady who spent all her energy and care to teach her son and make him a Rabi'ah who give the knowledge. Even today, all the Africa and all those Al-Maghrib and Tunis and all those Jazair countries, they are Malikiyin. And all of them, they are practicing and doing the things which Rabi'ah teach his son Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ajma'in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to always love those great scholars. May Allah gather us all together in the day of resurrection with righteous and salihin and the great scholars. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.